Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is going to be the first in my series of the best for new game masters. So what this series intends to do is, what I intend to do with this series is I intend to introduce players that are out there, whether they be old school players or modern players that have never game mastered before. I'm presenting you with a game system, whether it be an addition or a different game system entirely. So not just Dungeons and Dragons, that I feel best helps teach you a step-by-step process of how to become a game master, and looking specifically for game systems that present it in a very clear and easy way to follow. So some of these details will include, um, what is given to the player, and how that actually helps set up the game master for having a much easier go of it as well. And then more specifically on the tools and tips and tricks that are given to the game master right there in the game master's either book or whether it be a full hardback or whatnot. So these will not be just Dungeons and Dragons, but I am starting off with Dungeons and Dragons, that being, I believe, the one that will attract the most people to. Even if they are a modern player playing 5e, or Pathfinder or whatever, I find that this particular D&D box set is the best within the Dungeons and Dragons line of introducing, and I will explain that. So before I go on to the PDF and going over that, I just want to point out that the art that I'm displaying here, both of them, both Jeff Easley's and Larry Elmore's, still have their signatures visible. All right, which I think is very, very important, even for those of us that are kind of hobby adjacent, as far as our content is not directly marketing the art that we're using it as a thumbnail here, but I think that when you use thumbnails and you use art to represent what you're covering, that the artist's name should be visible for all to see. You give proper credit to artists. So Jeff Easley's signature is right above here. It's above the tag, and it's on the right hand side. And obviously, Larry Elmore's signature is below the fighter's right foot, just above the border. So, without further ado, that being said, let's go on to taking a look at the both player book and then the DM's guide, or the DM book for the basic set 1983. So here we have it, and I will expand. So here we have the Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy role playing game, set one, basic rules. And the reason why I think it's really important to start off with the basic rules, if you are looking to run something for even a group of new players, is that this only goes from levels 1 to 3. And I think it's super important to limit the access that your players have, especially new players, for the number of levels that their characters may have to think about and deal with. I think even though the rules encyclopedia includes this as well, the rules encyclopedia goes all the way up to like level 36, and I wouldn't want a group of new players that are new to the hobby of tabletop role playing games, or a new game master, having to deal with so much um, so much ahead of time, because players will look ahead of time and they'll start, plotting out, well, this is what my character wants to do when they're ninth level or 20th level. Meanwhile, you're trying to run a game where the characters are only first level and the booklet covers up to a maximum of third level. So you don't want them to get bogged down with too many rules at one time. So that's the first thing. Second thing that I really like about this box set is that it is very, very clear. Read this book first. All right, and this is the player's manual. So if you're going to be a game master for your first time, you need to know the rules that the players are going to be presented with. So let's start taking a look at this first. I'm not going to spend the whole time breaking this down because, to be honest with you, I have other videos that covered this particular product as well. So I do go into some detail here. The focus is on uh, getting a player to transition from being a player to being a game master. And what I really like about this system and the way that this is laid out. All right. First of all, I'm going to start off with, this is written by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. It is revised by Frank Metzner, and the illustrations are by both Larry Elmore and Jeff Easley. So both are represented here. And here we go. The thing that I like about this is that not only is the game system and the character creation and everything very, very simple, and the old school D&D, all right, whether it be OD&D or even these basic sets, do have um, very limited character classes for the humans and then class as race for demi-humans. So there are only 7 character classes that the players need to really focus on. And so that makes it much easier as well. But what I like about this is, and this comes right from the player's manual, is that it gives the player all of the information that they need to know their character and how their character will work, from their ability scores to adjustments to saving throws to special abilities. There's the combat chart, magic items, normal items, and other notes and such. Money and treasure and experience, how the dice system works. But what I love about this is that it gives every single player an opportunity to do a solo adventure. And what this really does is, in my opinion, it allows the player before that first session with a group of players to really learn how the system is supposed to work, and even focuses on how to role play their character. So I will take a little bit of a focused look at that section there. And it's, again, I haven't seen this very often, all right, in other tabletop role playing games, starter sets and such, where they give a solo adventure to help get the players in the correct mindset. Really important for the game master or the dungeon master to look through this material as well. So let me get to that section here where it talks about the solo adventure, and it's going through and it talks about battles, doing more damage, the monsters, the combat checklists, how to record, record keeping, what happens when your character gets killed, the process of mapping, and all of these things are something that the dungeon master is going to monitor as well. All right, then it goes further into um, going deeper into the caves and going deeper into the adventure. It shows the player basically the construct of an adventure, so they kind of can start to get a sense of this is what the experience is going to be like. And notice that this is not a short adventure, right? We're already up to like room 29. It goes up. This is not a short little thing. We're up to 62 now, and we're at 79, 85. We keep on going, and we finish up with, after the adventure, after 90 either encounters or rooms and such, they the layout is incredible as far as just teaching the player how to get into the mindset of playing the game. So then it says what comes next, and then your character classes and such will come following. The only format difference that I think here is that I would think that the solo would come after this portion, but it's not necessarily needed to do it in that direction. You could have the players create their own character first, and then they can go and run the solo adventure and then come back again. All right. But anyway, so this is the players portion of the set, the 2-book set. Now I'm going to fast forward to the DM's portion. So the Dungeon Master's Rulebook. So here it starts off with various keys. So here you have all of your various images that you can draw on a map to help create the key for the map. And here we go with it. I'm going to expand this view here so you can see a lot better. So here we start with the definitions. The Dungeon Master's job. A Dungeons and Dragons game is basically a series of encounters with other actions such as movement and problem solving between them. The dice are often used to find results when choices must be made. All the dice rolls are called game mechanics. The game consists mostly of role playing, game mechanics, and strategy. During an encounter, the players make hit rolls, damage rolls, and saving throws for their characters. You, the dungeon master, make similar rolls for the monsters plus other rolls to find monster actions such as reactions and morale. The DM's role: you will play the roles of all monsters, town people, and other creatures encountered. The best dungeon masters are able to play several roles at once, such as when the characters meet another party of adventurers, all played by the DM. However, your creatures are not as detailed as the PCs and are easier to play. Their actions are often determined by dice rolls. One rule applies to all the creatures, even though there are many different types. Imagine how the creature feels. The actions of the creature are often determined by its alignment or intelligence. For example, an animal is not very smart and will act very simply, hungry and hostile, neutral and unconcerned, or friendly. More intelligent creatures may be thinking of many different things: food, treasure, home, and friends, and so forth. When an encounter seems likely, think about how the creatures feel and how they might act. When the encounter begins, you will often roll dice to find actual reactions of the creatures. The results should be adjusted for the creature's intelligence, habits, and other details. Basically, you can roll these reactions. I tend not to. I just tend to use what I think would work best in the situation that they're in, what would make the most sense, and go forward with that. Um, I do the same thing with reactions as well. So, running the game. So, the order of events in an encounter is one thing that a game master or dungeon master will have to keep in mind. Order of events in a game turn, order of events in a combat. So There are various things that take place as a sequence in different types of situations. And this kind of lays it all out for a new game master to to start to get a sense of how do I do this and how do I remain consistent with it. That is very important. So here we start with starting your first game, right? So the procedures and rules. The following adventure is designed for use by a beginning dungeon master. It will tell you what to say to the players, when and what to roll, and includes page references for additional information. Before you start, you should look through the rest of this booklet, see the information that is given, in the procedures and rules from pages 14 to 21. So you see only about 7 pages to refresh yourself with and refer to prior to running your first game. Monsters and treasures are explained afterwards in separate sections. All details on the monsters and treasures found in the adventure are fully explained here, and you will not need to refer to those sections. Before you start the game, make sure all your pre-game details have been handled using the pre-game checklist. So here we go, a pre-game checklist. Do all the players know how to play? If you've provided them with that solo adventure, they should be good to go. Have you read this book up to this point? I guess you should have read a little bit beyond this point. All right, but we're going to continue. Do you and the players know the who, why, what, where, and when of adventure? All of the characters ready to go, including equipment. Have the players chosen a caller and or a mapper? Do they have a piece of graph paper, pencil, and paper map and everything that they'll need? Their dice. I'm surprised it doesn't mention dice here, but so make sure that your pregame checklist has been checked off and you have everything ready to roll. If the answer is no, stop and fix the problem. All right. Adventure record sheets. This is the character sheets. Um, Group adventure. Read the following to the players. So you can see here it goes right through and gives you an introduction. DM, stop a moment and make sure all the characters are ready to go, then continue reading. All right. The DM's information. So it gives you DM's information that is separate from what is being the read to the players. There's a hit chart matrix right here, saving throw matrix right here. You can see this is very much simplified, um, based on if it's save as a normal person or save as a fighter 1 through 3 or 4 through 6. And then continues on with this beginning adventure. When there's an encounter, it leaves the carrion crawler in this example. Its stat block is right there and ready to use. Tells you exactly how much treasure is in each situation, and some of the details about how it is either hidden or stored or whatever. So just adding additional information that you can ad hoc revealing to the players based on what they're saying and doing, all right, with their characters. And we will go through, and I'm not going to go through all of this here. What I do want to focus on, though, is once the adventure itself is done, ending the adventure. And I really like this because this here lays it all out for the game master. Is how you handle ending an adventure. Before any game begins, the DM and the players should set a time for the game to end and stick to it. The adventure might end before the time if the characters become severely wounded, use up all their spells, or fully loaded with treasure. They may allow to go home, rest a day or two, and then return if time permits. further adventuring. Um, and it's going to give you more details about how to handle those various things as well. So here are the procedures and rules. And some of these are super important, and they have nothing to do with the game mechanics. They have to do, some of them have to do with the what's going on at the table. All right, so some of this is meta. All right, and very very important that that is included here. So procedures and such, we have alignment changes, arguments, blindness, charm person spells, clues, complaints, creating characters, deities, demihumans, dice doors, equipment not listed, evasion and pursuit, higher level spells, which you're not going to have to deal with early on, um, hit points, low rolls, languages, listening, magic spells, so on and so on. All right. So alignment changes is a way a player wants to play a character either lawful, neutral, or chaotic. So very simple system. You're either, any one of those particular three. Sometimes a player forgets or ignores the alignment of his character and plays the adventurer incorrectly. Uh, you should talk privately to the player about the problem and encourage the proper play of alignment. Never threaten to tease a player during the game. With Deal with the problem in private. Okay. Um, if the problem continues after you have warned the player more than once, you may tell the player to change the alignment of the character to a different alignment actually being played. All right, so you're basically telling them to use the alignment as a general guideline of how to role play the character. And I think that what this will do is this will make most players gravitate towards neutral, because that's kind of the easiest way to go. And characters that are going to choose either lawful or, if you allow it, chaotic, are going to be much more um, focused on portraying their characters with those alignments. So neutral is kind of a default. It's the easiest one to kind of stay within the framework. Arguments. If an argument starts during a game, stop the game for a moment, listen to both sides, and make a decision. Then continue the game as soon as possible. Do not allow an argument to continue for long. Explain that everyone is trying to have fun and that the argument can be settled after the game if necessary, after the game session if necessary. All right, so yes, the dungeon master will make an on the spot ruling, and then you will confer back. The last thing that you want is for your players to start breaking into the rule book and looking for something very specific. Now, this system is very, very simple, and that's why you want to limit it to just running for a group of first level characters for your first try at being a dungeon master, and you don't want the characters and their character classes to be so complex that that there can be room for a dispute over specific rules from the rule book. How to handle charm person spells, and if a player character is charmed, how do you handle that kind of a thing? How do they handle charming NPCs or monsters, and then controlling them through that? So very good advice here. Clues. Beginning players often need help in learning to play. When running a game for beginners, the DM should encourage them by saying such things as, "Do you want to search for secret doors?" I certainly wouldn't do that, but this is again meant as an introductory, just getting brand new players focused on doing the thing, going into an adventure and really getting into that mindset. Um, you if you end up with players that are really just frozen, they're not saying anything, they're not doing anything, then various prompts are, are better, I think, than just coming out and saying, "Do you want to search for secret doors?" No, just give them a hint that you notice that there's a discoloration on the wall, um, of a couple of panels on the wall to your left, and leave it at that. And then let them go over there, and hopefully the players will think of, oh, I'm going to search for a secret door, rather than just suggesting to them to search. Um, Give them little clues and hints of what they might do in this particular room. Make sure that you're describing the room fully to them, so that then all you have to do is sit back and just respond to what they're doing. All right. Get your players used to um, being bold and just stating what their character is doing. Where is the character? What is their character doing in this moment? What is their character attempting to do? And just modify the description of the space that they're in based on what they're actually stating that they're doing. Complaints. If a player complains about the way you are handling something in the game, try to listen to the objection, be reasonable. If the problem can be fixed by changing a procedure, try to work out the reasonable compromise. For example, if a player says you keep killing characters with poison, you might try using the optional damage system for poison, or so and so on. Right? If the events are where the player characters keep on dying, and it's no fault of the players, and it's not necessarily in the fault of the design of the dungeon, it's just like a continuous stream of bad rolls keep on occurring, then it's always fine to say, well, you know what, I'm not going to make this particular trap a poison trap. I'm going to make it a pinprick, and the poison is so diluted that it doesn't really do anything significant to the player, other than, oh, you feel a little bit uneasy or something like that, or you feel a little bit nauseous. Maybe you'll have it only do 1 point of extra damage, that kind of thing. So you be prepared to adjust. um, as far as complaints, it's just like when they're trying to bring up various rules and stuff. You want to get everybody back online, and in game, in that game set, headset, as quickly as possible, or mindset, I should say, as quickly as possible. But always go back to it. Make sure that the players know that they've been heard. Then we go into some other things: equipment not listed, evasion and pursuit, and just various ways of handling various procedures in the game. And multiple characters. You should not allow beginning players to play more than one character at a time. It can be hard enough to play the role of one character. Two or more can be very confusing. And that's really going to help yourself as well. Is that you know you want to keep your group fairly small, and between 3 and 5 players is considered to be somewhat ideal number, and you only want them each controlling only one character in that event. I think that there are major pitfalls that both they and you, as the game master, will suffer from doing that, and so on. They go through a lot more, and um, I'm going to shift back over to here. So there are several reasons why I think this is one of the best entry points for a game master, which I've already stated. There are only two books that you need, and that's the the player manual, which you make sure that if you don't have multiple copies of it, you can just made a photocopy of the pages that the player will actually need, including that solo, and make sure every single player has the solo adventure to run through. And then you, as a game master, um, there were only 7 pages of those procedures that you kind of need to possibly reference. I would fully read this book, have everything down before you go. But as a game system here, I believe that the page count is less than 160 pages for the entire thing. I mean, the GM's book is, I mean, the player book is about 60 pages, and the game master should be fully fluent in that particular book. And then the game master's book is total another 48 pages. So really less than like 120 pages, let's say, probably even less than 115 pages is all that you need. I have to wait for my phone to stop ringing. Yeah, so this is this is, in my opinion, by far the best introductory game system and particular box set for introducing a player to become a new game master. Now, as I go through other installments of this video series, I might compare the next one to this one and keep on going along. I am not going to say that it is, when I'm all done with this series, I'm not going to come out and say, this is the best one out of all of them, and say, this is, and prioritize them in that sense. What I will say is that, at least for me, this one I find to be a good combination of all of the things that you're looking for to introduce a player to transition from player to game master or dungeon master in this particular instance. So I hope you like this video. If you have any suggestions as to another game system that does it slightly better than this, or a parallel to this, that feel free to put that in the comment section. If there's another game that you want me to take a look at very specifically, I am taking suggestions. Otherwise, I will go to the next video, you know, um, where I grab another one, and I am looking to switch genre as well. So I'm not going to bring out other, Dungeons and Dragons for this series, because I think that this one is actually the easiest to start you off at. Um, so I will be switching genre and also game systems as well, if I am remaining within genres. So I hope you enjoyed this. As always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime soon. If you hadn't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And finally, last message, for any of you that didn't catch it yesterday, for any of the moms out there, or anyone who wants to extend a happy Mother's Day to their mother. Happy Mother's Day from myself and my family here, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week coming forward. And as always, keep on gaming out there, and thanks for stopping in. Take care.